Chapter 3, protecting your data privacy. Now, this chapter basically focuses on how you can protect your data that is on your mobile phone, that is on your laptop, that is on your desktop, that is on your tablet, any device that you use that is connected to network or that you generate data. How do you protect this data online? All right, even offline, how do you protect this data? What are the vulnerabilities that you are out there to face? And that is the center of this particular class. Now, in chapter 2, we were able to identify the different categories of malwares. And then we also saw the different types of malwares. And we saw what each of these malwares are targeted at doing and how they can affect you greatly. So for today's class, we need to understand certain measures that you can do to protect yourself or protect your system or protect your data from this particular malware activities. And the first item that we can do is to create what we call a firewall. A firewall is basically a software, or sometimes it can be a hardware that you can have on your system, or you can have on your modem, or you can have on your router, or you can have on your phone. Now, what basically this firewall does is that it helps to prevent unauthorized access into your device, either into your system or into your router or into your mobile device or whatever device that you have network. So when you create a firewall, you are trying to create policies to govern who gains access into your system and who does what on your system, or who gains access into your network and does what on your network. So the common firewall that we all need to set is the one that we can have on our system. So whether you have Windows 7 or you are running Windows 8, there are firewalls that are there for you to set up. We also have Windows 10. And for Windows 7 or Windows 8, you can just go to this particular link, and Microsoft have even given you some guidelines on how to turn on the firewall that you have if you are running on Windows 7 or Windows 8 or even Windows 8.1. And if you are running Windows 10, there is also a step of firewall that you can do in order to set it up on your system. So your operating system actually comes by default with a firewall, and this firewall is called Windows Defender. So in most cases, people forget to turn on this particular firewall. And so once your firewall is not turned on, automatically your system has been left vulnerable for intrusion, or it has become very, very vulnerable. So it is strongly advised that you create a firewall so that you can actually move on. The next thing you need to do is to create an antivirus or anti-spyware software. Now, when we saw that our systems have vulnerabilities, that malwares actually go ahead to exploit these vulnerabilities, these malwares are set of codes or instructions that are written by malicious intentions individuals who actually want to take advantage of your vulnerability to cause mayhem to you. Now, an antivirus or an anti-spyware is also like a software. It's also like a tool that you can actually use to prevent these malwares from causing mayhem on your system. But what is then the difference between the antivirus and the malwares themselves? The difference is that this antivirus or anti-spywares, they have what we call a virus definition database. It means that they have been scripted in such a way they can identify the characteristics and features of what any of these malwares might look like. Now, in my own case, I am using Norton Internet Security. And within this Norton Internet Security, I can have a firewall inside. I can have an anti-spyware inside, and all these particular tools I have. So let me share my screen for you to be able to see that. So for instance, now this is my Norton Internet Security, and my system is protected. Now with this particular tool, my system can be able to protect it from any harm that is within. Additionally, my system can also set up a firewall using this particular antivirus. So if I wouldn't want the Windows Defender antivirus, I can actually just install an internet security software. In this case, I'm using Norton. So you see, in this Norton Internet Security, I have an antivirus embedded in it. I have a firewall embedded in it. I have an anti-spam embedded in it, and on and on and on. So I can come on to firewall and decide how I want traffic to go out of my system or how I want traffic to come into my system. So this is where I can do all the general settings for my firewall. I can also control the applications that have been installed on my system, how these applications behave, how they affect, how they go out to the internet, and how they come into the network. So I can come here and either allow or block or create a custom rule for any of these particular applications. I can come to traffic rule to say how I want traffic to pass through my system or not to pass through my system. And I can define them all here within this particular platform. My internet security also have what we call the intrusion and browser protection, which simply means that the browsers that I am having, this particular feature is enabled as a plugin in those browsers. And the reason is such that any moment that I am browsing this or surfing the net, I might be able to reach a fraudulent site, and then this particular application will quickly warn me that this site is fraudulent. If I am downloading a particular file from the internet, before the file is actually made available for me to use, it will be first of all quarantined and then scanned. If it is free from any malicious software, then it is made available to me. But if it is not free from any malicious software, then it is kept quarantined or deleted from the system. Now, it also helps me to scan through my emails when I am being attacked in any way. So it is good to have a firewall. It is also good to have an antivirus that you have on your system. Now, going back to the class, we also can manage our operating system and our browsers. And managing it is actually another way to secure our system. Now, securing our system using operating system and browsers happens in two ways. First of all, your operating system is the main software that communicates with your hardware, the hardware of your machine. So the operating system serves as an interface between the hardware of your machine and you, the end user. So you as the end user cannot talk directly to your hardware. You as the end user can only interact with the operating system to speak to the hardware. Now, if somebody attempts or hacks into your operating system, it simply means that they can control the behavior of your hardware, which include your processor, include your RAM, include your hard drive, include your motherboard. It can control even your cameras. It can control the microphone. It can control any hardware device that you have on your system. And most cases, it comes through the browser. And then so hackers are always trying to take advantage of these vulnerabilities, especially when your operating system is not updated or when you are running a pirated version of any operating system. So most of the times to protect your computers or your system from these people or protect your data, you need to set all these settings on your system or on your browser to make sure that you get the regular updates all the time. If not, you might be a victim. Now, you also need to protect your devices. So your computing devices, whether they are laptops or smartphones, most of them have access to password. So you need to learn to create password to protect your devices. Now, one of the labs that we are going to discuss today has to do with how to create a password. Now, I am sure that a good number of us have very good passwords on our emails, on our website accounts, on our phones, on our system. But I can bet you your password is either maybe something that has to do with your name or a name of somebody that you love, either your child or your brother or your fiance or whatever, or it has to do with your date of birth or a date in your card or something like that. Most of the times we try to create passwords that we can remember, and we use things that are close to us to remember. So if somebody wants to gain access to you, or somebody wants to attack your system, first of all, they try to study you and get some information about you, and that is how they begin to look into it. Now, IoT devices sometimes pose greater risk than other computing devices. IoT devices are Internet of Things devices. When we're talking about devices that connects, like your cameras, like your fan connecting to the network, like your curtains connecting to the network, like your light bulbs, your fridge, your car, your watch, when you have a smart home or when you have a smart car, all those devices, they have access to the internet. But why are they of greater risk? They are of greater risk because in most times, most of these devices use what we call firmwares. They use firmwares instead of an operating system. So if you have a firmware and that firmware is not regularly updated, then the defects or vulnerability of that firmware is being exposed anytime the hacker actually wants to get across to you. So how about wireless network safety? These days everybody is talking about Wi-Fi. And what we forget to understand is that as the world is trending mobile, as the world is trying to provide access to network in all places, in so many places, we also need to know that hackers or unauthorized users are also working hard on their game in order to gain access into this. And so usually your Wi-Fi or your wireless security network usually have what we call an SSID or service set identifier. Now, this SSID is actually the name that actually broadcasts this particular wireless network. So the name that you set on that your wireless router is what is going to broadcast your to the neighboring environment. So your security begins with the name. So assuming I want to set up a wireless network for my bank, and then I go into the bank, and then I decide to set up a Wi-Fi SSID like GT Bank. Now, anybody who sees that particular SSID knows that, wow, this is a financial institution. And so he might want to make attempts to gain access. Or probably, I want to conduct an exam. And in conducting an exam, I'm setting an SSID or wireless SSID for the exam. Probably it is JAM exam I'm conducting. Then I will set the SSID as JAM CVT exam. So since that particular SSID is being broadcasting every now and then, whoever wants to gain access, the moment he sees that SSID, attracts that particular person. So the SSID, the security in the SSID that you use matters a lot. So in most cases, you do not set up an SSID so that people will know that this is your own, but rather you set up the SSID for security reasons. We all have Hotspot on our phones. And in most cases, a lot of us do not go to the hotspot settings and change the SSID. Probably I have Infinix phone. So I turn on my hotspot, and then somebody close to me will see Infinix Hot Note 8. That is the SSID because that's the default one. So whoever that wants to gain access to it will know that this hotspot is coming from an Infinix Hotspot Note 8 device. So if he or she knows the vulnerability in the firmware or the OS of that particular phone, that person can be able to hack you or hijack you at any point in time. And so if I have a phone or I have a device and I want to set up my SSID, it is always advisable to set it up to distract or dissuade whoever intending a hacker is from knowing that you are the particular owner. So you can give a general name, you can give a name that does not correspond to you or something, so that you are the only one who knows it. So apart from the SSID, sometimes we need to set up passwords, password security keys for our particular routers or for our particular devices. Now, it is always not ethical to leave your wireless SSID open without any password. Well, different people have different opinions to that, but as regards security, apart from your SSID, if your wireless or Wi-Fi does not have a password or your Bluetooth does not have a password, then you are 50% vulnerable at any particular point in time. So it's always advisable to set a password. But before you can even set this password, there are different password encryption mechanisms that your router or your phone need to have. So your router and your phone needs to have. So anytime that you are setting up a Wi-Fi, you need to be able to set the key so that the encryption is going to be very good. So we always advise that as well. Now, there are other tips about protecting yourself. We will look at that later. But how then do you create a good password? We have Facebook accounts online. We have email accounts, Yahoo, Gmail, and so on and so forth. We have an account on the Cisco Net Arcade. We have profiles on different websites. Our login details are in hundreds. And for those of us who always have digital footprints, we always keep we keep repeating our passwords. We keep repeating our password. So the whole advice is that it is always good to change your password. But before changing your password, how do you know whether your password is good or not? How do you know whether you have a strong password? How do you choose a particular password? Now, look at this chart or this table, for instance. All right, I have a particular password, this. Okay, as this password looks like this, it is okay. Why is it okay? Because it's a bit long, and the password says all white cat. That is a password, all white cat. So, but look at it, it's just lowercase all through. Okay, well, password is just okay because of its length, but is it good? No. How can we make it good? All right, here, to make it good, we can just alter the all, ALL, anywhere there is L, we put 1. Remember, you are creating a password that you can remember. You are creating a password that you can remember. So if you create something you cannot remember, then it is difficult for you. So the moment I put 1, it simply means my password is a bit stronger. So I have alphabets, lowercase here, but here I have alphabets, lowercase, and numbers. Now, you see, this one is even better. I have alphabets lowercase, numbers, and alphabets uppercase. Additionally, I have special characters. So anywhere I see A, I can even replace it with an @ sign. Anywhere I see LL, I can put 11. So you can decide to tweak your password in any way you can. I can see another one here. FB login is as simple as saying Facebook login. So my FB login, I can change it. I can put one FB capital, then L capital, then login. So the mixture of numbers, small letters, capital letters makes it good. But it makes it even better when I put in special characters. There is a full stop or there is a dollar sign or whatever. So what are some of the things I need to bear in mind? First, do not use dictionary words or names or any language, because any hacker that is trying to gain access or hack into your account, the simple reason, the first thing he does is that they try to use dictionary words, the protocol that they create. So they use dictionary words to do that. So it is advisable not to use dictionary words when creating your password. The second thing that you need to take note is that do not use common misspellings or dictionary words. Okay, there are common things that people are trying to use in password, so I should not use that. The third rule that if you want to use in choosing your password, do not use computer names or account names. All right, do not use that because it's easily gotten. Now we said if possible, use special characters such as this. When creating password, once you use special characters, whoever is trying to break in your password, it will make it a bit difficult. So also use password with 10 or more characters, because the password breakers actually use permutation in order to crack password. So when you have, the more characters you have, the longer it takes for whoever that person is to actually break in your password. So password is another way of creating security, but you need to make your password very good. So one of the labs we are going to look at is actually how to create a good password, and some tools that might help us. So we have some summary of new guidelines. Usually they say 8 characters or minimum in length, but not more than 64 characters. That's when you are creating password. When you are creating password, no common, easily guessed passwords such as keywords like ABC123. You should not use passwords like that. They are very, very easy to crack. Then the third tip is no composition rules, such as having to reduce lowercase and uppercase numbers and things like that. If you create a particular pattern, a particular sequence, it is very easy to crack. Now, improve typing accuracy by allowing the user to see the password while typing. So if you do that, then it will be difficult for you to forget. But sometimes when people are creating passwords, they do not even know what they are typing. So if they made a mistake, they automatically lock themselves out. All printing characters and spaces are allowed. So no password hint. Make sure you don't give password hint. No periodical or arbitrary password expiration. Don't do that. Then no knowledge-based authentication, such as information from shared secret questions, marketing data, or transaction history. Okay, so basically these are some hints that or guidelines you need to know. There is a link here. If you want to know more on how to improve your password, you just click this particular link. It will take you to the environment where you will learn how to safeguard your password. So you can do this at your leisure time. Now, this is the lab activity, how we are going to create a strong password. So like I said earlier, that this chapter 3 have like 4 lab activities. So I'm only going to do this first one with us online, and then you will do the remaining. The reason is so that we will be able to have time to be able to complete this, and then you will also have time on your own to be able to do some practice. So all I do is I just download the lab activity. All right, so just a moment, let me share it with you. Okay, so this is the lab activity, and I want to believe you can all see it. Now, in this lab activity, I expect you to follow it one after the other, line by line, one after the other, after which you'll be able to understand it. Okay? Now, the lab is basically to create and store strong password. And the objective is to explore the concept behind creating a strong password, and also to explore the concept behind what? Securing your strong password. So that is what this lab activity is to do, helping us to know how to create a strong password and then how to secure that particular password. Now we have a scenario here that says passwords are widely used to enforce access to resources. Attackers will use many techniques to learn users' password and gain unauthorized access to reduce or to resource or data. All right, to better protect yourself, it is important to understand what makes a strong password and how to store it securely. Okay, and for this particular lab activity, all you need is a PC or a mobile device that have internet access. That is it. You have a laptop, you have an iPad, you have a phone, you have a desktop that has internet access, you're good for this particular lab activity. So part 1, how do you create a strong password? It says strong passwords have 4 main requirements listed in this order. Number 1, the user can easily remember the password, and that is why a lot of us have created passwords with names, with things that we want to remember. All right, you have your ATM card, and your ATM card is either your date of birth or your date, the date you got married, or any date that is important to you. In most cases, that is what people use. All right, I want to create a password for my email. Then I use the name of my first child, or the name of my last child, or I use the name of my wife, or the name of my spouse, or whatever it is. All right, so this rule is important. We have to remember our password. But while we try to set a password we can remember, the second rule says it is not trivial for any other person to guess a password. Meaning that when you are setting a password, don't set it in a way that someone else can just guess the password. Do not set it such that anybody can easily guess it. The third rule says it is not trivial for a program to guess or discover the password. Why are we talking about programs? Because hackers or people who want to crack or break into your network or your device or your resource, sometimes they build tools, they build softwares, they build password crackers, they build the right software instructions that can be able to pick certain indices and then guess your password. For instance, let me give you an instance. If you want to create an email for the first time, let's say maybe Gmail or maybe Yahoo or whatever. If you create your username, all right, you will see that the system will auto-generate similar names for you. If that particular name is in use, it will generate similar usernames. And what it does is that it picks part of your first name, your last name, your date of birth, picks some information about you, and suggests a username for you, an email account for you, and it suggests that. And the reason is because it is a program that has been designed to do that. Now, recently, when you create a password and you put a password and it's similar to your username, the system will reject it because it will tell you it is too simple. All right. This is because these are programs that have been written to know how to uncover or discover your password. Then the fourth rule is that your password must be complex. How do you make it complex? It must contain numbers, symbols, and a mixture of uppercase and lowercase letters. Okay. So now, if I am creating a password, I know that I have to combine numbers, uppercase letters, lowercase letters, and then symbols. And so based on the list above, the first requirement is probably the most important because you need to be able to remember your password. So if I create a password, something like this, is it easy to remember? No. But is it a strong password? Excellent. It's an excellently strong password. But is it easy to remember? The answer is no. So because it's not easy for me to remember, I cannot use that as a password, but it is a strong password. So many organizations actually require passwords to contain a combination of numbers, symbols, and lowercase and uppercase and things like that. So they do that as a policy. So if you work for an organization or you belong to a system that uses network, it's always good to create a password policy, either for the email accounts or for the Wi-Fi accounts or for login details or whatever. Try to create a password policy that will govern. For instance, here we say that the password must be as 88 characters long. It can be a policy. The password must contain upper and lowercase letter, another policy. The password must contain number. The password must contain non-alphabetic numeric characters and things like that. So these are policies that we have. So now, let's take a moment to analyze the characteristics of a strong password and the common password policy set that we've talked about above. And why does this policy set to neglect the first two items? All right, what are the first two items? In this policy set, you see, we didn't say you must be able to remember your password. All right, we didn't say the password can be guessed or something like that. This is just a policy to be able to govern. So you can type your answer in here. So I'm going to go down to the real activity. A good way to create strong password is to choose for 4 or more random words and string them together. A password, this is a password. Television, frog, boots, church. Television, frogs, boots, church. This is a password. And it is just lowercase. And look at it. The number of characters is long, is good. All right. But look at this password. It's shorter, but it is stronger than this. Why? It has an uppercase, it has a number, it has characters inside. All right. So you see, this password is just like a password that somebody will say Jonathan 81. So Jonathan 81 is used like a name that somebody can remember, but decide to create a policy to say anywhere there is a zero, there is an O, I will replace it with a 0. All right. And then you decide to form this, something like that. So notice that while the second password is in compliance with the policy desired above, the password cracker programs are very efficient at even guessing this type of password. Why? Because it is the name Jonathan. All right. So while many password policy sets will not accept the first password, they will not accept this password, it is much stronger to use this password. But it is easier for the person to remember this password. So there are ways you can do or what you can do in order to help yourself. And one of the ways is this link that we have created. So I'm going to go to this link and then we're going to do an activity on this link to create a password. So this is it. It says open a web browser and go to this site. Select the option to confirm to conform to password policy set and then generate password. Then we will answer, is the password generation easy to remember? So this is what we are going to do. So I'm going to click this link now. All right, so I'm going to click this link, and then okay, let me share the link with you. Just a moment. Okay, so I have shared the link. This is it. If you click the link, this is where it will bring you. Secure password generator. How do you use this tool? This tool is just here to help us create a password. So I can say, how many lengths do I want the password? Anything less than 16 here, it says is weak. Anything more than 16 is strong. So for instance now, let me say 8 characters. Okay. Do I want it to include symbols? E.g. this, if I say yes. Do I want it to include numbers? Maybe I say yes. Do I want lowercase? Yes. Do I want uppercase? Do I want to exclude similar characters like this? Okay, let me say yes. Do I want to exclude ambiguous characters like this? Let me exclude them. Generate on your device, meaning that do not send across to the internet. This is what select. Then auto select, that means select password automatically and things like that. Once you finish all this, you say generate. Now, this is the password it has generated for me. Okay, so with this particular password, so if you want to remember your password, then you will have to store it somewhere. Okay, you have to store it somewhere. So if I want to send it to my email, I can send it to my email. If I want the password to be stronger, let me say 16, and I don't want this, I don't want this, maybe I only want what do we call it? Small letters. Look at it. This is what is going to generate to me. But this is not a strong password. So this particular tool here basically helps us to be able to understand how to use this particular password generator. So we are going to now try another password generator, another tool, and then we'll see about that. Okay, so let's go back to the lab and see what we have there. Okay, so we are back to the lab here. So the question is the password generated easy to remember? Then you will give your answer, whether it's easy to remember or it's not easy to remember. But in most cases, it is not easy to remember. Now, using an online password generation to create a password based on random words. Notice that because the words are appended together, they are not seen as dictionary words. So we're going to use another tool again. So we'll open our browser and go to this particular site, and then let's see how we can generate another password. So let's generate another password. Okay. All right. So this is another password generator. Now look at this password generator. See the password it has generated. Parallel including plates drop. I can generate another one. Clearly, breath, bright, quickly. I can generate another one. Now, the question is this particular password easy to remember? The answer is what? Yes, it's easy to remember. Now, what is then the difference between this one and the first one? The first one is not easy to remember because it contains alphabets, numbers, special characters, capital and small letters. And this one, it just contains alphabet. So, is this password easy to remember? Then you put the answer here. So I can just type, this one is yes. This one, is it easy to remember? The answer is no. Now, part 2. How do you now secure or store your password? If the user chooses to use a password manager, like what we have seen, these tools are password generators. Okay, password generators. Password manager is the tool that helps to keep or manage your password. The first strong password characteristics can be dropped because the user has access to the password manager. What we are saying here is that if I am to use a password manager, then I don't need to worry about remembering the password. The password manager will just remember the password for me. So it's like a saying that says, they used to say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Then somebody comes up to say, no, put all the eggs in one basket and then guard the basket with all your might. So that's what here they are saying. Okay, that you can decide to use very secure password even if you cannot remember them, but use a password manager that you can remember. But even that password manager, there are issues. It says, notice that some users only trust their password to their own memory. So password managers, either local or remote, must have a password store, and that password store can be compromised unless you want to make sure that it cannot be compromised. So the password manager stores your password, and it has to be strong. It has to be with a very strong password. So an example of the password manager is when you have your Google Chrome or your Internet Explorer or your Mozilla Firefox. When you create a particular profile, it comes up and say, do you want Chrome to remember your password, or Windows to remember your password? And when you say yes, it stores the password in a particular cache. So anytime you visit that particular site, then it will ask you for password. Now, how do you manage this kind of situation? A popular password manager is this. We can click and then you see so this is LastPass.com. It's a popular password manager that a lot of people use. So, but you have to create an account. So you can create an account free, and then any password you use, it will be storing for you. Password for your MasterCard, passwords for your uh, emails, passwords for your whatever it is you want to use online. All right. So you can go there and then click trial to create an account, then fill out the fields as instructed, then set a master password. This password will give you access to your LastPass account. Then it will ask you to download and install the LastPass client for your operating system. Then open the client and log in with your LastPass master password, and then explore the password manager. As you add passwords to LastPass, where are the passwords stored? Then we'll find out that. So let's do that. This is LastPass. They say we should create an account free. All right. So let's create an account. All right. What email would I use? Let me use okay. Uh, let me create with the email so that you do not see. Just a moment. I'll take off the sharing. Just a moment. Okay, I'm creating it, and it's telling me the minimum requirement for my password. I must have my password must not be my email. My password must have one uppercase. My password must have, okay, let me even take this and show you just a moment. Okay. All right. So let me share the screen so that you'll see what I have done now. Okay. So now you see what I have here. They are asked when I created a password, they have to now use this password policy to check it. So not my email, it's correct. No, it has at least one upper capital letter. It has one lower small letter. It has one number. It has at least 12 characters long. Once I did that, they say, okay, I should create a master password. So I've done that. They say, do I want a password reminder? It's optional. So I did not opt for any password reminder. Now, this particular tool, remember we said it's a password manager. So the account has been created. So so you see here, it's telling me that do I want Windows to save my password? Now, you see, most of the times we just click save. You can only click save when you know you are using this particular system, you and you alone. But it's always advisable not to use click save when you are doing that. Now, the next thing it says we should install the browser extension. All right. So let me install the browser extension. Just to click it, download it, and then you install. What else is it? Okay. So this is it. So let's just get it. Okay. Right, so it's going to download. This is the lab activity that we're looking at. For those of you who were not following, let me remind you. This is the lab activity we are following, and we are trying to create a password manager. When we create this password manager, then we will answer this particular series of questions. Okay. So while this is going on, I will install it later and then I will give you the feedback also later. While this is going on, let's continue with the class. Now, another thing you need to do in order to secure your documents is what we call encrypt your data. Encrypting your data has to do with your files or your folders and things like that. So I am going to now maybe create a folder and then see if I can encrypt the folder. All right, new folder. So I've created a folder. So let me share it with you people. Then you will see how you can encrypt the folder and encrypt the content. Now, encrypting simply has to do with the fact that somebody who gains access to your system unauthorized, or whenever you want to send a particular file or a particular folder across, is your data safe? So this is a folder that I have created. Now, in this folder, I am going to create maybe another folder. Let me call it test. Then I will create a file. Let me create a file. I just right click, just create a simple text file. Then test file. Now, so I have a folder and I have a text file. So how do I encrypt this? I just right click, I come to properties. Once you come to properties, then you come to advanced. Then here it says encrypt content to secure data. Then I click this one. Then I say okay. Then I apply. Then encrypt this. Right. Then I say okay. So you see now I don't know whether you can see it well, but there is something like a padlock on this particular file. All right, I can do that for the folder, and then every content on the folder. All right, so I can do that for the folder. I can encrypt the folder, and then if I encrypt the folder, then apply. Okay. Also, it also has padlock. Now, another thing I can do on my folder, I can hide this particular file or this particular folder. All right. I can come to properties here. Then I can say hidden. All right. You see the folder has a padlock. I can come here and I say hidden. Once I say hidden and I click like this, you see here as it is, you see it's showing the folder is not very pronounced because it is hidden. Now, you can tell your system to show hidden files, or you can tell your system not to show hidden files. So if I come to view here, if I uncheck these hidden files, so you see that folder is not seen. If I come to this text file, I come to properties, and then I click hidden, and I say, okay, you see, I cannot see. So it's like opening a folder and you cannot see anything. So until I come here and I uncheck this and I say show hidden files, and then I begin to see this. Okay. Now, this is also another way to encrypt and hide your data. Another thing you can do to yourself is to back up your data. Back up your data has to do with storing of your file in another location. You can store your file. You can store your file in an external hard drive. You can store your file in what do we call it now? In online database. You can store your file in cloud storage if you have cloud infrastructure. You can store your file in any of the locations that you want. Okay, so but it's important to back up your data. All right, then we have another activity. That one you're going to do on your own. How to back up your files in your external drive. Then the other part that you just need to know is when you delete your files, where do they go? They go directly to recycling bin. All right, so when you move your files to recycling bin, they are there in the recycling bin until you decide to go and empty that particular recycling bin. But if you do not empty the recycling bin, it is very easy to actually get them. But there are certain ways or certain tools you can actually use to permanently delete your data. This one is basically for organizations, and to do that there is a lab activity for that. So I'm going to download all these lab activities and send it to you guys to do that. Now, the last or second to the last aspect that I want us to look at is what we call the two-factor authentication. The two-factor authentication is to say that apart from just having password as login details, you can have another feature. You can have another feature. So, well, popular online services like Google, Facebook, and Twitter's, they have files. They have files that can help in the two-factor authentication, meaning that beside the username and password that you enter, there's a PIN that will be sent to your email or to your phone, so that you can actually re-authenticate yourself. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens even in banks. You want to carry out a transaction, they will require maybe your token. They will send a token to your phone or something like that for you to reconfirm your password. So it's always also very advisable that you do your two-factor authentication. Now, we also have the open authorization, and basically it is like a standard protocol that allows end users end users' credentials to access third-party applications or platforms, meaning that you have your passwords or your login details managed elsewhere, but you will have a particular protocol or service that will be responsible of going to go and get authorization. For instance, this particular young man is connecting to the web server and is connecting to an open authentication server. So he wants to enable the frequent transaction between these two. And how is that possible? Because if he is here, he now accesses the web server. From web server, how can he access the web server? First of all, he has to get access to be granted by the open authentication. So there is an intercommunication between the two servers to enable security. Okay. So the last aspect I want us to look at today is the social media. A very strong one. Do not share too much information on social media. So if you want to keep your privacy on social media, share as little information as possible. You should not share information like your birth date, your email address, your phone number on your profile. People who need to know your personal information probably already know you. So they will not need to use the Facebook in order to get that. So do not fill out your social media profile completely. Only provide minimum required information. And most of the times, furthermore, always check your social media settings to know that, especially the privacy settings, to know that you only accept people that you know and they know you. All right. So I think this is where we're going to stop. Our time is up. Thank you so much for joining today's class. I want to wish you guys the best. The time is up, and so we might not be able to continue. So tomorrow, hopefully by the same time, 10 o'clock. Okay, tomorrow we will not have class tomorrow. Tomorrow is Saturday, and so we're going to continue on Monday. On Monday, we're going to continue. So I'm going to send you emails or WhatsApp messages for your assignment that you're going to do between now and when we are going to meet. Okay. So thank you very, very much for participating in today's class. Okay, somebody is asking a question that it needs more explanation on authentication. Okay, now, the open authentication. Now, authentication basically is a system that verifies that you say you are who you are. Now, if I want to, during the lockdown, and police stops me and they says, who are you, where are you going to? And I tell them who I am. The next thing they will ask me is, do you have an ID card? Now, the ID card is going to now verify that I am who I say I am. Now, we said that open authentication is a protocol. A protocol is just a rule. It's just a sequence of rules that actually governs this communication. So it's a protocol that allows end users credentials to access third-party applications. Meaning third-party applications means that the applications that are not directly on your system per se. So you want to access a particular resource somewhere. Very important. So the only way you can access it is if your credentials are authenticated. If your credentials are authenticated, then you will be authorized to access it. So open authentication is a rule that governs that. And we're giving an example. Say you want to access a web application, and this application is this XYZ, and you do not have a user account for accessing this web application. However, this XYZ server has the option to allow you to log in with your login credentials. I'm sure you have seen websites or platforms that says instead of creating an account, they will ask you to just enter your Facebook account or enter your Gmail account or enter one of these type of accounts. Once you have a Facebook account or a Gmail account, you don't need to create profile on their platforms. They will just use the account, the credentials that you have in your Facebook or your Google in order to grant you access into that particular service that you want. So basically, it's just a system that uses this third party in order to access that. Okay. The next question says, please, can you say something about system junk? Now, a junk is basically what you don't want, and probably they're not too important. So most of the times they go into your recycling bin or they go into your cache or your temporary files. So when you have such junks, you can always clear them to make your system move faster. Okay. Another person says, please, sir, is there a general anti-malware application for all malwares? All right, this is a very good question. Very good question. Now, you see, the malwares that we have, most of them have a similar trait. They have similar traits. But one thing that is for sure, when you are looking for an antivirus, that is why you go for what we call internet security. Okay, the internet security has the antivirus, has the anti-spyware, has the anti-trojan, and most of these malwares it has. But one thing you need to know, it is not 100% foolproof. Reason is because it is only having a virus definition database that will help you help the system to identify when a malicious software comes to your system. So the best way is to buy a licensed one that you can be updating. So if you have Norton, Kaspersky, Bitdefender, Node32, and things like that, what they do is that they have a big virus definition database that is updated every now and then. So as it is being updated, if any malicious software comes to your system, they easily detect. Okay. Then the next one says, sir, I'm unable to do the quiz because I am lost on how to follow up the link. Can you give us a guideline? All right. I might not give it here now. I will create a guideline and send it to the WhatsApp group. All right. Someone asked, says, can I add password to encrypted documents? Can I add passwords to encrypted documents? Now, well, it's very important to encrypt your documents. So if you have passwords, it is good to know that you encrypt them so that another person will not be able to see. So I think it's a good one. Then the next question says, and how true is the statement that even after deleting from recycling bin, one can retrieve data, retrieve his or her data? Is it true? Yes, it is true. But you need a third-party application. There are certain softwares that you can use in order to access the particular memory in your drive that houses all these particular files. As regards teaching you, maybe that is what we will do maybe in another day. But let us, once we finish this, then we will look at that. So thank you so much all for your questions and your participation. I wish you the best of the day. We will see on Monday, and we will continue the class hopefully by WhatsApp. We'll just continue interacting by WhatsApp, and then we will meet on Monday. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.